So quick, and it was dark, and all I heard is noise and flying through. I don't know what happened.
Gripping stories of survival. Passengers on board the derailed Amtrak train explain what happened and how they got out alive.
We have confidence that we will get to the bottom of what caused this horrific tragedy.
Governor Jay Inslee tours the crash scene and talks about the road ahead to get I-5 back open. Federal investigators comb through the wreckage looking for clues about what caused the catastrophe. And meet the soldiers who became heroes, rushing to save lives.
We started kind of just directing individuals, just trying to get as many of these individuals as we could off, knowing that this rail car is hanging off a bridge and possibly can fall at any time.
Incredible stories. The NTSB final report could be a year away, but all indications at this point are that excessive speed contributed to the crash. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Lori Matsukawa.
I'm Mark Wright. State leaders today are thanking heroes who ran to the wreckage yesterday, helping save lives. They're also asking for compassion for the victims and demanding answers and accountability for what happened. It's only been 33 hours since that passenger train went off the tracks and crashed onto Interstate 5. The death toll tonight remains at 3. Workers are hoisting the damaged rail cars out of the area, and it remains unclear at this hour when Interstate 5 will reopen to traffic. We have several reporters following our top story tonight. Glenn Farley with the latest from federal investigators. Let's begin with Chris Daniels, live near the crash site tonight. Chris.
Mark and Lori, you can see behind me here in the southbound lanes of Interstate 5, there is still one of those wrecked train cars sitting on a flatbed waiting to get pulled out of this area. This has been a methodical process over the last day and a half, and there is still a shortage of answers tonight about the investigation and when this roadway may reopen.
It is a mess of unprecedented proportions. Train cars scattered like matchsticks. A roadway now cluttered with heavy machinery. The cleanup matching the weather, at times dark and somber.
I thought initially it was an explosion.
Rudy Wetzel was on board Amtrak 501.
You know, just out of the clear blue, there was no warning of any kind. It's just total shock.
Today, while he heals, questions remain, like how long will I-5 South be shut down?
Planning on being closed at least through tonight.
Washington's Department of Transportation says, in addition to the cleanup, it needs to inspect the roadway and support system around it.
However, I do want to stress, this does not mean I-5 will reopen tonight. It still could be closed for several days.
Here on the south side of the derailment, you can see just how complicated of a mission this is for crews here on scene, as that almost 300,000-pound locomotive is still stretched across multiple lanes of Interstate 5. How did that engine end up here?
We have compassion today. We have confidence in the investigation.
Yet it is now the second time in less than 6 months an Amtrak train has derailed in Pierce County. Excessive speed a factor in both. Is County Executive Bruce Dammeyer's confidence shaken?
And you can bet that we're going to be part of making sure that those questions are asked and that we believe the answers that come out from it. This is a very serious issue that we've got to get to the bottom of.
They are the questions which will linger days after this wreckage, this mess goes away.
And there is still a lot of cleanup here to do. Governor Jay Inslee said today, however, he was surprised at how fast the work crews here are doing in getting that work done. You heard from WashDOT, however, plan ahead. It does not look like this roadway will be open in time for the morning commute at the earliest. For the latest on the investigation, let's go up the road to my colleague Glenn Farley, standing by live in DuPont. Glenn?
Well, thanks, Chris. Behind me, the setting for the National Transportation Safety Board news conference that wrapped up just about an hour ago. There's a lot of interesting information here. One, on the emergency brake, it's set, but not because the engineer was trying to slow the train down. Remember, it went off the tracks at 80 miles per hour, but the emergency braking system kicked in once the derailment started to happen and the brake line was broken. This is the scene. This is what it looked like here. We also know that there was a second person in the cab. Normally passenger trains, Amtrak trains, just run with a locomotive engineer in the cab. In this case, there was a conductor training and learning this new territory, as they say, this new section of rebuilt track. Now, I want to show you an animation that we produced late last night that really gives you, I think, a good sense of how this happened. How that train kept going straight when at 80 miles per hour, when that curve was commanding to be at 30 miles per hour. It went straight off the locomotive, the lead locomotive, and half the train straight ahead down onto I-5. The rest of the train now in emergency braking, continuing around the curve, piling up, also hitting another car on I-5. About the only thing left standing on the tracks was the second locomotive, which also is critical in all of this. So when that train left the track, it left marks behind. Here's Bella Dinzar of the National Transportation Safety Board.
The locomotive and the passenger cars were visibly piled up beyond that curve. There were witness marks, we call those witness marks, from the wheels on the ties where the wheels had departed the track. I mentioned last night that we had obtained the event data recorder from the rear locomotive. And today we've obtained the event data recorder from the lead locomotive. And we're in the process of obtaining the inward and outward facing cameras as well from the lead locomotive. And we'll be working with our state-of-the-art lab in Washington, D.C. to confirm preliminary information, as well as to access the data to make sure that the data from the front recorder matches the data that's in the rear recorder.
Now, the event recorder, essentially the black box like you would have on an airplane here, that is recording that information like the speed. The cameras, there's one inside focused on the crew inside, another focused outside. She also said those were badly damaged. We'll see if those can be read out. Also, a lot of discussion about PTC, positive train control. Had it been in place, it would have automatically started to apply the brakes as this train was moving out of a 75-mile-an-hour piece of track toward a 30-mile-per-hour curve. That was in the locomotive, but yet that system is not yet deployed out here in this part of the railroad territory. Live in DuPont, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.